Hi guys, it's Pablo from the Engine Room here. Quick disclaimer before we get started with today's episode. We had a few technical difficulties this time around. First one is that Buga was away on holiday for this episode. He is there, so don't worry, but he just goes in and out a few times, and if there are a few technical problems in that regard, then that'll be why. And then towards the end of the episode, probably about 20-25 minutes from time, John sort of just cuts out completely. We haven't been able to recover his file, so unfortunately we lose John for the latter stages of the episode. But other than that, it should be fine. We hope you enjoy, and hopefully then from next week, we'll be back onto normal. Take care, guys. Enjoy.
All right, welcome back, roomies, for another episode of the Engine Room podcast with myself, John, and we also got Pablo and Buga here. As always, we're going to be talking some English Premier League results, Arsenal dropping points. That is not without some VAR controversy, and they're not the only ones who have some VAR complaints. So we'll talk those controversies and more before getting into some Champions League previews. But before we get into any of that good stuff, I know we got some twisted takes and some shout outs. But before we do any of that, let's just say hello to the roomies. Pablo, how are we doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. I'm quite excited for today's episode. I think we've got a good amount to speak about. So I'm doing well. I'm happy, and I'm happy to be back too.
Good. I know we are catching up with our boy Buga, who's on vacation, dealing with some internet problems. Just left us momentarily, so we'll swing back to Buga. And speak of the devil, there he is, Buga, coming back in action. Why don't you say hello to the roomies, good sir?
Hello, ¿cómo están? I'm like in vacations, and I'm in like a really bad place with internet. So I'm basically doing this podcast with my data on, and I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes as we speak. So let's make this quick.
Buga, you want to tell everybody like where you are? We can do like a little Easter egg hunt of find Buga in a bar and buy him a beer.
You won't never find it. It's like a place called Zorritos, which means like foxes, like little foxes.
Okay.
And it's like a beach place, and that's it.
And now you need some Zorritas to go with you.
Whoa!
Hey yo!
You don't say that in Spanish. That's like
Sorry.
super bad.
Sorry, lads. We're on an English-speaking podcast, Buga.
Oh boy, I'll have to get an explanation after we're done recording. I guess we'll leave that one alone for a second. Before we get into football, I want to make a point about American football, because last night was El Super Bowl, and it is a huge deal in the States. But I just want to call out that we need to stop seeing it as that. We need to stop seeing the Super Bowl as the event, as the end-all be-all, because it's not. Nobody cares. It is only important in America, and even when you boil that down, you could give any other excuse to get together and eat food and drink, and you would get the same amount of people doing so. Aside from the two cities that are playing and the people that are putting money down, nobody cares. Quick stat. 103.4 million people watched the Super Bowl last night. You know how many people watched the World Cup final?
4 billion.
4 billion with a B. So my twisted take is not so twisted. It's just that the Super Bowl doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. And I know that we have an international audience here, so I'm curious to hear some takes.
I think it's like what matters about the Super Bowl, genuinely, like if you don't really watch American football, are like two things.
Yeah.
The halftime show and the ads. Like that's it.
Yeah.
I genuinely, I don't even watch the Super Bowl, because I think if I would watch American football, if I like the sport, I would watch it. Like it's the final of something. Of course I would watch it, but I don't. And I just wait on YouTube when apparently my subscription feed is just like saying the big game show clip official trailer.
Yeah, right.
Of 1,000 movies, that's what I watch. That's the only thing I care about. And let's be honest, the only good halftime show was Shakira and J-Lo like a years back. Rihanna this time around.
Oh boy, wow.
Weak.
Yeah.
Pablo, you have any thoughts on the Super Bowl?
No, I have nothing to say on it. I have nothing to say on it, actually. I did mention earlier, I was speaking to an American guy earlier, though, and he he had a lot of praise about it. He said, in America here, everyone watches the Super Bowl and how huge it was. So I said, okay, fair enough.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's really my point, is that if you're into the Super Bowl, you think everybody cares about the Super Bowl. So I just wanted to point out, for those of you that are listening that are like, what do you mean? I was at a party and everybody cared. Yeah, but there's so many more people that don't care that weren't at that party. I just want you to know that nobody cares about the Super Bowl. Period. Moving on. I think up next on our agenda, Buga, I believe, had a shout out, unless we're perhaps seeing a frozen Buga, in which case we're going to move on to some Premier League news. I'm seeing a frozen Buga. It's a beautiful face, but let's move on then. Let's talk a little bit of Arsenal. I don't want to say that I'm like a fortune teller or anything. I mean, my prediction didn't fully come true. I called for a Brentford win, but they did drop some points. Were you shocked by this, Pablo? What was your take?
Yeah, a little bit shocked. Does feel like Arsenal are letting City and co back into the title race. Definitely feels like they're letting it slip a bit. I don't think it's all tumbling down for Arsenal, but it has to be a worry. You look at the last 3 games and they went out of the cup to City 1-0. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but again, no goals scored. Then they lost 1-0 to Everton in the Premier League. Again, City lost that week, so you thought maybe it's just a blip. And then against Brentford, they looked like they really struggled again. They got 1 goal with Trossard and then let Brentford back in. So it's actually been quite a bad few weeks for Arsenal. I get the feeling maybe they've done the same thing over and over again since the start of the season, and it's all unfolding a little bit. They've kind of played the same 11, 12, 13 players constantly. Maybe teams are finding them out a bit. I think we saw what Everton and Brentford showed, kind of the blueprint of how you play against them. And now that City beat Aston Villa quite comfortably, and I thought, that they looked a lot better too, it means it's tightened on, and we can't forget, of course, Wednesday night is Arsenal versus Manchester City. So huge, huge game that. And really, out of nowhere, actually, when Arsenal were looking at, they were quite running away with it. I think they're being uncovered a bit here. And honestly, certainly points-wise, title race is on. It's actually mathematically in Manchester City's hands right now. If Manchester City win every game, they will be Premier League champions. So it's actually well and truly on again. And for Arsenal, I mean, I think they'll be very disappointed, and they will not like having to go into this City game midweek with this, on their back.
Yeah, I'm feeling like, based off of some of the comments that Pep Guardiola made midweek regarding City's, financial allegations, we'll say, he's coming in hot. I think he is now reignited in terms of wanting to get the English Premier League title. I think we've talked about it weeks leading up to this, that Man City maybe aren't prioritizing, maybe aren't so focused on the Premier League. It's all about Champions League. But now he's saying, oh, okay, you think that we're only winning Premier League titles because of this and because of that. You think that we're cheating or whatever. Watch what happens now. I think you have woken up a sleeping giant in Pep Guardiola, and that's saying a lot, because they're already Man City, but now the attitude's going to be there. I think they're going to come with a little bit of grit. So I'm going Man City to win against Arsenal. I think they're going to steal 3 points there, and this is going to be a very exciting race, and hopefully a 3-team race. Hopefully we get more than just Man City. I'm hoping Man United keep pace too, because they also got a big win against Leeds over the weekend. We want to chat about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, look, like we've said it for previous weeks. Man U points-wise are in the race. They just are, and I think the more Arsenal drop points as well, and the more Man U keep winning, the closer they're going to get. Yes, they drop points midweek, and actually, I don't think Man U are going to win the league this season. I don't think they're going to be in it. I think they're always going to be about 7 to 10 points off it, while still winning games. But I just think the second Man U get close, I think they'll lose. So I don't think Man U are actually in the race, but points-wise, they are there. And I think they'll be looking at that midweek game thinking, if that's a draw there and we win our next few games, we're well and truly in it. So Man U are certainly there. They've, of course, got the Europa League coming up. But I just think for Arsenal, it was all looking so good, and football can change very quickly. I think you're right about City. They lined up on Sunday and just looked a little bit, reinvigorated. I think Pep went very attacking. He got some of the players we've spoken about in previous pods to back in the lineup, like Laporte and Ruben Diaz, and they just looked better against Villa. I know they sort of set off a bit in the second half once they had the 3-goal lead, but everything is up in the air again now. And if City get on it, and if they feel kind of like stabbed in the back by the Premier League and, kind of have that big push, then things are going to go very well for them. And I think, especially with the Europa League coming up for Arsenal, City are going to start feeling confident. And if they get that confidence, this is going to be a very interesting title race. And like you say, game on Wednesday is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I know I've stated and doubled down and tripled down on Man United sneaking in for a Premier League title, but they are coming into a pretty tough run of fixtures. They've got Brentford matches postponed, but they've got Newcastle in the Cup final. They've got West Ham in the FA Cup. They've got Liverpool March 5th, Southampton, whatever. But then they have Brighton, Newcastle, Everton. That's not a very fun run for Man United. I think that's going to be tough fixtures. So I do think this is a 2-team title race. But I tough to say Arsenal are going to be top here. Let's see if Buga has some thoughts on the current English Premier League updates.
It seems as if Bulgar's struggling to get connection here on this vacation of his.
I think that
It does.
Oh, he's here.
it will take.
There it is.
Can you hear me? Am I alive?
You're good now. Go for it.
We
Buga.
can hear you. You're a bit
Buga
delayed,
via
I think, but we can hear
satellite.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that just like Arsenal, my internet is starting to slow down a bit. I think that's a reality. If we don't I don't know about you, but Pablo was the one saying this for quite a long time, saying that Arsenal are going to eventually kind of slow down, and I feel that that's going to be the case now. When you look at the table, City, like you were saying, just looks galvanized by the whole situation of the FFP, and when we really start thinking about it, I think Pep Guardiola is really motivating his players to try and seize this title, not for the sake of just winning another one title, but just to put like a flag down on the arena, on the ground, on this territory, and say like City are just more than the money that they spend. And I feel that that's the one thing that will go eventually against a team like Arsenal, maybe, who right now don't have anything really going for them. Like when you think about it, the title race that they have, like Pep Guardiola said also a few weeks ago, of course, Arsenal are going to be trying to win every game because they haven't won in quite a long time. So they don't have pressure. They don't have anything of that. But when you take a look at the other side of the coin, that could also mean that they're going to be struggling, be nervous, because they know that they'll be wasting a very big opportunity. And I feel that's exactly what's going to happen with Arsenal now. I'm starting to eat my own words up because I was the one praising Arsenal at the start of this season. Jesus, it looks like they're gonna struggle.
Well, it might not all be over yet, though. We have to say, I know they've dropped like a few points, but we got to see. They could still beat City, and I think even if they draw, that they keep it a distance. If City keep dropping points, I think it's been quite a bad week for Arsenal, but this is going to be their test, because if they win it from here, then you say fair play. It's not like, for example, City have just dropped points and they've run away with it quite comfortably in February. If they win it from here, they would have gotten a battle with City. They're going to have to overcome City in one-to-one matches. So this is going to be a test of their resolve. But I just think they come into the City game in not the best spot, and they'll be disappointed about that.
Yeah, I think that's my question. If Arsenal get a draw against City in this midweek match, is that enough to feel confident if you're an Arsenal fan?
Oh,
confident. I don't know if that's a word.
Go on, Buga.
Confident. I don't know if that's a word, but it will be beneficial.
Okay. Well, moving on to Chelsea then.
VAR decision. Wait. Did we talk about the VAR decision or not?
Oh no, we actually breezed right past that. Sorry. Thanks for circling us back. What are your thoughts, Buga? You want to talk about the Arsenal one first?
Look, I wanna know your opinion on this, guys. We know that the court of referees, or whatever it's called in England, they admitted that they made a mistake, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Our English correspondent. Yep. Do you feel that those errors need to be kind of fixed or find a solution? Because I do believe that if they admit that's a mistake, you need to do something about it. I don't feel it's it's in the past. Sorry, it's already a 1-1 draw. I feel something. My opinion, I do feel that in stuff like that in sports, that shouldn't happen. Like I feel there needs to, because at the end of the day, that can have a drastic end or consequence to whatever Arsenal season can be.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those things like, what can you do about it? Because even if you were to go back and say, oh, that was never a goal, so you just take away Brentford's goal and it's an Arsenal win, Brentford has the argument that, well, we played the remainder of the match on the assumption that it was a goal, and had we known it wasn't a goal, then maybe we would have done something different for the remainder of that match. So you can't really fairly just reverse that decision without it also causing some controversy on the other end. But I don't know. What do you think, Pablo?
Yeah, no, you're spot on, John. That's why they can't do it. But I'm fed up with these apologies. By the way, I think they're nonsense. Like, then they pick and choose when they apologize as well. By the way, like, what did I see earlier in the season? Like, I think it was Chelsea, West Ham, and West Ham had a goal ruled out, and that they came out with this big apology, and everyone was going on about how much of a disgrace it was, and like. And then certain decisions that are also just like embarrassing, like for example, Souček tipping it around the post in the 90th minute on the weekend with his hand, a 5-second VAR check, and we moved on. There's no apology. Where's the apology? Before we had like Sky Sports and Gary Neville doing all their like, is the Premier League like biased to the top six and like what's going on? Like this is a scandal, and then other times no one cares. Like, why are they picking and choosing what they're apologizing over? But I gotta say, the standard of VAR over the whole weekend I thought was woeful. Like I'd finished the 12:30 game and I'd seen a midfielder tip it around the post, and we weren't even checking it. Minutes before that, we were checking the most blatant offside for about 3 minutes on a West Ham header, where Rice was about 2 people ahead of our last defender. We were like zooming in and zooming out like some sort of like PowerPoint presentation slide. I was like, what's going on? and then I watched the 3:00 kickoff. Brentford equalised, and I watched the replays and I thought, that's offside. They're going to rule that out. Instead of actually checking the offside, they started zooming in and out on the first play of the free kick to check if someone was like if Zinchenko was being held up. I think like they don't actually have a clue, and that's what I think is really worrying, because if you've got like a big game like a Champions League final, you can't actually trust these guys to think no, this is in good hands. They know what they're doing. These are simple decisions, simple calls that we're not getting right. Anyone can see that Souček has tipped that around the post with his hand. Why are we spending 5 seconds on it? Why are we spending 2 minutes zooming into a blatant offside? Why, when Brentford equalised with, I think it was offside. We haven't seen official images yet, obviously.
Well, no, Pablo, it is.
Yeah.
I don't mean to jump in, but
yeah,
if for the Brentford incident, they didn't actually use a visual line. And now that a day after they apply the actual visual line, you can see that it was just a bit offside.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the technology's there. I don't understand why they're not using that part of it.
I literally think it was a refereeing error by Lee Mason, who was on VAR that day, where he spent 2 minutes zooming into the edge of the box and didn't play the rest of the clip and didn't pause it when the next phase of play where this bloke was offside to clip it back into Tony's header or wherever it was. So these are literal human, like embarrassing errors basically that are going on. I can't believe it. I don't know if there's like a team or something, but it's incredible.
I genuinely feel that VAR has one main issue, and it's that we still rely on the interpretations of a human being. Like that's something that we cannot take away. But I just want to make this question clear. Like I want to say this. Like, we know the referees are the one doing the pausing, they're introducing the line. Do we really expect these 50-year-old guys or 40 or 30 guys to be the most expert wise guys in terms of technology? Like, shouldn't
as a 35-year-old man, I am offended by that question.
Look. But they're referees. That's what I mean.
Really
they haven't. But that's what I mean. They haven't.
Yeah.
They haven't been in that world, or at least I don't know. One of them might have like a massive YouTube channel and know how to do perfectly everything. Video editing. But like, is there one? Shouldn't there a professional? I know they have training or whatnot, but shouldn't there have been a professional like sitting doing like whatever the referee asks, and the referee just says, okay, I want to see this. Bring me up the line in this, and there's a tech guy who's just expert in doing that. Like, shouldn't that be what's happening? Because I feel that, like, I'm saying this, like, look, my uncle, that I'm literally with my uncle, he's like, like a PE teacher, but he does like the refereeing in the sports. I'm like, imagine if this guy is given like VAR. I'm like, he wouldn't know shit because he's like asking me how to. He's like airplane mode his iPhone for like, for an entire like day, and he doesn't realize that. And I'm like, this guy wouldn't know how to do like a freaking line in the
Yeah.
VAR. And it's like, you say, why do you bring your uncle into this? But you have to remember that a lot of these people are just normal human beings that had a job, had a career life, and then became referees. And it's like suddenly they've been given this massive power of technology. And I just feel like there should be someone more knowledgeable in that area, because most of the time it's like when you look at the referees, they're referees that before they were just doing the same thing in the pitch. What do they know about bringing the line up? That's what I just wanted to say.
That may be one of the that may be one of the best points that's been made on the podcast. Actually, like I hugely agree with that. You're spot on. Like, for example, Mike Dean in England doesn't have a clue about technology, and he's like a 60-year-old bloke and being trained in like drawing the lines down. They get it so wrong. Like you watch it happen sometimes, and you think, like, what is going on? Like the angles they pick, like the way they draw the lines, like they meant to do it off the shoulder, they end up drawing it off the elbow. Like it's so embarrassing, and like it's just ridiculous. Like we should have tech people.
I also feel that football is. Sorry, I cut you off, but I just wanted to say this quick thing.
Go.
I feel football in England and in general in Europe is too like they're too proud of themselves. Like I feel there is this like glorified thing of like this sport is like royalty or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just a game of a ball. Like you can be able to introduce whatever. It's not you don't have to be like, let's just keep it traditional and you know what I mean? Like it's like
but you'll get that. Yeah, but you'll get that with every country who developed the sport. Like America's the same way with baseball. Baseball's been almost the same for a very long time, and it's because people are so prideful, like you said, about the original rules and the original way of playing and this and that. All right, shall we turn the page then to Chelsea? Talk a little Graham Potter?
Go on.
All right, well, I'm going to say you go on, Pablo, our resident EPL specialist. Go ahead and give us the latest on Graham Potter. Another draw for Chelsea, and they are currently sitting down in 9th place in the table. Take it away, Pablo.
Yeah. I'm really interested to go back to you guys on this as sort of outside looking in, because I think with Graham Potter at Chelsea, right now there's a huge divide in the fan base, or at least certainly there's a massive portion of the fan base that believes that Graham Potter is too small for the Chelsea job, that he isn't big enough to lead a project backed by probably £1 billion in the next 3 seasons, let's be honest, of what Todd Bodie's going to spend on the squad. And to lead a team to win Premier League titles, to win Champions League titles, to win the biggest games with the highest stakes on the line and tactically get Chelsea over the line. And I think people feel that Potter isn't ready for that. The way he speaks in his press conferences, his mentality, how he is as a person, as a leader, it doesn't scream 21st century Chelsea under Roman Abramovich. However, I think Chelsea have spent an awful lot of money. They've spent an awful lot of money on young talent too, a lot of who haven't even played a game yet, like Andre Santos, who's just done very well in the under-20 championships for Brazil, or Mudryk and Felix, who've played about 300 minutes between them. So I don't think Todd Bodie's going to be sacking Graham Potter, and I think Potter will be here to stay and lead a Chelsea project for at least another year, actually. But I just want to say that the Chelsea fan base right now feels that this squad, backed by so much money with so much talent, needs to be headed by someone like a Luis Enrique or a Hansi Flick, and that Potter isn't big enough. Like, what do you guys honestly think about Graham Potter? Because on one hand, I'm thinking, my Chelsea hat, Pablo Wolves Blanco doesn't like Graham Potter, but I'm trying to change, as you guys know. But I'm trying to open up to the possibility of a project being implemented, because I think we've seen it with Arteta a bit. We've even seen it with Xavi a bit, to be fair. I think Xavi's done a really quick turnaround, by the way. But I do think there's value in giving people time in football. So Potter, talk to me, boys.
I completely agree with you about particularly the image of not really being that big name that is going to lead a team of superstars to glory. And he doesn't really have the pedigree of winning trophies, on his CV. Yeah. I'm wondering if how much of this is Chelsea's upper management just understanding that there's going to take time to build this club, and whoever manages it is going to struggle a little bit to implement their style of football until you get the personnel there that they want. Yeah. And I'm wondering how much of this coincides with one Carlo Ancelotti, because he has a contract that ends after next season. And at the end of this season, Modric
Dude, he's going to Brazil.
and Benzema and Cruz, I believe, unless I've missed an update, are all ending their contracts as well. Maybe this is the end of an era over at Real Madrid,
John,
and Chelsea
he's
have
going to
one
Brazil.
eye on keeping...
He's going to Brazil.
What, Carlo Ancelotti? What?
Yeah, he's going to Brazil.
Not guaranteed, but
What makes you say Brazil?
Speechless.
they've denied that report, Buga. But I don't think Ancelotti will go to another club after Real Madrid though.
You think he's done?
At club football.
I don't know. See, I think Chelsea need to go for somebody big.
Okay.
And to me, Ancelotti would make sense if he wants to have another go at it. Boo, what do you think? We may have lost baby Booga again.
Have we?
Calling once, calling twice. Is there a Booga in the room?
It feels like we've lost him again. He might come back midway through.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, I might be off about the Carlo Ancelotti pick. We'll see. I might just want him out of Real Madrid so he stops giving us so much trouble. All right, we might have Booga back here. We might not.
Yeah,
we'll try it out. Oh, we got Booga back. Okay, Booga, do you have thoughts on Graham Potter? Do we want to move on and talk a little bit about Spurs and Conte?
I don't really think we should even bother about talking about Conte. But about what I was mentioning about Ancelotti, didn't you read that he's like potentially close to agreeing a move to become Brazil's next manager?
I did not see that headline.
Yeah, it's like apparently close, whatever. In South America, they're already talking about that, but let's wait and see what happens with that. But what I was going to say about Graham Potter is that, remember, Pablo, when he first signed, I told you about that thing of like the image that he fits. When I think of Chelsea, I look at like Chelsea, the English flag, Graham Potter next to it, another Englishman, Mason Mount, you know, that idea.
Yeah, I know that
American dream, that British dream.
I remember you said.
I still feel that's a thing. But I don't know who said this, but from The Athletic, they reported that Graham Potter wasn't going to have months; he was going to have years to get it right at Chelsea.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read that.
I did, yeah, Ornstein.
And I feel that's kind of true. I feel it's true because kind of they have a young squad, they have a young manager. I feel they're going to let them gel, or at least that's the idea. That's what I want. And I don't know how Bolly does his job, but I think it would be interesting to get like una primicia, that's how we say in Spanish, like a first impressions from someone maybe who knows a little bit about baseball and about how Bolly managed the club that he owned. He owned what, the Red Sox? I don't have no idea.
Boley, he's co-owner of the LA Dodgers.
Okay, the LA Dodgers. I want to know how maybe he managed that, or what's the history with that team, because maybe that will give us a little bit of insight into how he manages his sports ventures. That's kind of what I want to know.
Real quick, he is also part owner of not only the LA Dodgers, but the LA Lakers, the LA Sparks, which is the women's NBA team, Cloud9, and DraftKings. So he's a busy boy.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think if you ask American people into baseball, Bodie, you hear very good things. The only thing I'll say about that is he's co-owner of the Dodgers, so there's a lot of people on that board with him. You know, he doesn't have as big of a stake as he does in at Chelsea, but it's been a similar sort of thing. I think LA Dodgers have been incredibly successful. I don't know if it's called the NL West Championships or something. I think they've won something like 8 of the last 9. They've been super impressive in America baseball-wise, the Dodgers, and I think, you know, they've kind of got a reputation for buying all of the best players, compiling the best squad, and winning the biggest titles. So I think, you know, we're seeing something quite similar at Chelsea too. He's an ambitious businessman, Bowley. You know, we've seen that already. You know, he wants to leave his mark, and I think he's trying to do a similar sort of thing at Chelsea. I think also with the Dodgers, they kept the coach for a while, Walter something, I've forgotten the name, but he stayed there for ages, and they kind of built the project around him as the manager, and they like stability at the Dodgers too. So I think we'll see that sort of thing at Chelsea.
I think that's where the engine room needs to investigate next.
Yeah, it is interesting because I would say very similar brands in terms of having history and prestige. The LA Dodgers originally came from New York in the early days. It was the Brooklyn Dodgers, so they were part of the early days. So it's part of that brand. I think makes sense for Boley there. So I don't know. We'll see. I would like to see them give Graham Potter some time just to maybe kind of disrupt the trend of only giving managers 6 months, a la Jesse Marsh, who I think we're seeing was not the problem at Leeds, but whatever. Whatever. We don't need to go there. A little bit sour. I mean, they just brought in Weston McKennie, and they had one match with him off the bench before Jesse Marsh was gone. I would have liked to see what happened.
Be the new US men's team manager, so don't worry.
Yeah,
no,
we'll see.
Southampton. I've heard he's on the list, quite high up.
I like that. From what I've heard, I don't think Jesse Marsh is necessarily interested in going for the national team. I think career-wise, he wants to stick with club football, but we'll see. I'm still waiting for Zidane to be named U.S. men's national team head coach. All right. Quick touch on Barcelona before we get to Champions League. 11 points clear after the win over Villarreal. Buga, what were your thoughts on the match?
Araujo is the best center back in the world, isn't he? He really is.
Hard to argue. I wanted to praise him. I really like the kind of fan advertisement they're doing with back, like saying Baude, Araujo, Christensen, Kunde, the back line. I like that. I feel it's a long time since you see maybe fans get that emotionally invested in a defense in a while. Like, I haven't seen that since potentially when we were saying like the BBC of like Barzagli, Bonucci, and Chiellini or stuff like that.
Yeah, we haven't seen this since Sergio Roberto, Piqué, Longley, and Alba, the glory days. Yeah,
you say that, and I still think about that back line, and the names sound like nah. And I feel that also we have to give praise to Pedri. I feel Pedri is becoming such an important player. There was one thing that Xavi wanted to stress on Pedri was like get more in the box, try to shoot on goal, and he's doing that perfectly.
Yeah, let me. There was a stat earlier. He's won us 10 points in La Liga with his 6 goals, either being match winners or to get a draw.
That's insane. Like, that's insane. And I also feel that at Barcelona we felt like we see Dembele, not Busquets. They're still working nicely. Like, this is the best Barcelona I've seen in quite a while. I just want to see it translate to, once again, European stage, because that's where we really measure ourselves into comparison to other teams out there. So that game against Manchester United is going to be a really big one. And I feel that there's the only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that I feel this new formation with the 4 midfielders and the one kind of winger forward doesn't get the best out of Lewandowski. And that's where I'm a little bit like, he's still better with two wingers next to him.
Yeah, I did notice it does require Lewandowski to leave the center of the pitch a lot more. He's making those runs out to the sidelines to open up a bit of space for the midfielders, Pedri and Gavi, to go running in, which I'm okay with. As long as somebody's putting it in the back of the net, I'm okay with it. The other concern I have about this formation, though, for as good as it is, it does require a different skill set per position. So it kind of, as we saw yesterday, eliminates the possibility of bringing on somebody like an Ansu. Because if we're requiring that left wing, left attacking mid to come back and play defense and have an impact in that regard, Ansu Fati might not be the one to do it. Ferran Torres might not be the one to do it. That's why I know it was late and we're holding on to a 1-0 lead, but that's why you saw Jordi Alba come on instead of those guys. But I'm trying to not read too much into that and Xavi's maybe lack of faith in Ansu in particular. But what I saw was by an hour into this match, it was clear that Rafinha was not really going to have his best match. He was struggling to put anything on target. That would have been the time to maybe throw on Ansu Fati, throw on Ferran Torres. But he waited until like 80th minute, something like that, until Rafinha was well run into the ground before making the change. And this is all with Man United coming up on Thursday. I expected some rotation early on to stay fresh, and now I'm not sure if we're even going to be prioritizing that match. We might see some rotations against Man United. I don't know.
Yeah, no, we looked leggy against Villarreal. I thought, well, we hobbled a bit, like we did, and I think this is my only criticism of this, like kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, 4-4-2 formation is. Barca don't look as fluid in attack. Like the Man U games, I don't think we're going to blow Man U away. I think it's going to be within a goal or something, which means Barca are going to have to defend very well, especially against someone like Rashford, who's one of the most informed players in Europe right now. So, look, we look very good defensively without the ball. This is a completely different Barcelona. It's a complete revolution that Xavi's implemented. It's brilliant. I think it was 16 clean sheets in our last 21 games. Outrageous. 15 wins out of our last 16 games. Outrageous. But in attack, we look a bit numb. Like I watched us going forward last night, other than the first 50 minutes, and I thought, yeah, we're not scoring. I look a bit stiff. Like, and I think that was happening. And I think also an issue we saw is that Xavi didn't trust the squad, or he didn't trust the bench. He didn't want Ferran on. He only brought him on, like you say, John, once Rafinha was running to the ground. Even like late on, like you say, didn't want to bring Ansu Fati on and go to 3 attackers. Only brought Jordi Alba on as to double up with Valde. Then the last sub was going to be Sergio Roberto. I can't even remember if he got on or not. So look, I think Xavi just felt a bit that we're hobbling a bit now, and I certainly felt that. So against Man U, I'm also expecting us to hobble if we're going to get through. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I wanna put forward a disclaimer before we change subjects. John, you were gonna say something.
Well, I just wanted to comment that even though we started the season with so much depth, and I know Dembele is injured right now, but all of a sudden it feels like we're lacking that depth. And I wonder how much of it is because the starting 11 that we've been seeing is just outpacing the other players that are now clearly rotational guys, whereas at the beginning of the season, it seemed like we had 1 or 2 players at every position that were going to be battling for it. Now, towards the back half of the season, we're seeing that separation, and we're seeing a clear starting 11 versus the guys that aren't quite making the cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To add on that, definitely. I feel like the main disclaimer, like the difference for you people out there who are Barcelona fans, are not Barcelona fans, or are buying into this. And I'm going to say buying. I really strongly believe this. Buying into like Xavi is making this new Guardiola like a level team. This is a very good team, but this is not that. And why do I say that? Just like John been saying, like when Guardiola builds a team, when he did at Bayern, when he did at City, it's like every player works in that formation. Every player works in that starting 11. But this time around, this team with Xavi is very isometrical.
Oh, no.
I think we lost Buga midpoint.
We lost Buga midpoint. That was going to be a good one, too. I was feeling it. I wonder if he'll even notice. Buga is somewhere in a room on the beach just talking to himself right now.
I think he was going to say that every player went into the system, and I know what he means. That, for example, last night, we didn't want to bring on Ansu Fati because we thought, like you said, John, he wouldn't work in the system. And I feel that. Yeah.
So I think you articulated it better than I could there. Because the system has changed slightly, all of a sudden we don't have the depth because we had players that were set up for a different system.
No, absolutely. But I think also the point you made about the starting lineup level being so high, that's true as well. At the start of the season, the difference between Koundé and Eric Garcia wasn't this high. Now it's like if Koundé was to go out for Eric Garcia, we'd all be like, what is going on? Like we'd all be like holding our eyes. So I think that's definitely happened too.
Yeah, fair point. So since that's really probably the only Europa League match that we care about, you want to just touch on Barcelona Man United and then we'll get into Champions League?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Buga, since your rant got interrupted there, we'll go to you first. What are your feelings going into this first leg tie at the Camp Nou on Thursday, Barcelona hosting Man United?
I feel confident. I feel Barcelona can get the result. But just like I was ranting about, like I was saying, the team is very isometrical. And just like Pablo says, like there's not a substitute for Koundé. There's the only substitute for Dembele really is just Rafinha. But Dembele, then again, he can go left, right. Rafinha can go left. And it's these sort of things where this team relies more on every single individual player in the starting 11 and not rather the other players in the squad. Like John said before, the squad lacks depth because none of the other players can excel to their full potential. So when it comes to the Man U game, I feel Barcelona can get a result, but like you said previously, also it's like a 1-0, maybe a 2-1 result. I honestly think it's going to be a 1-0 result because I also feel Manchester United are very difficult to break down nowadays, and they're working tough. They're working very tough. They're hard workers, and they're not going to leave that much space behind.
And they adapt too.
Yeah,
I don't mean to cut you off, Buga, but over the weekend you saw Man United switching from a 3-back to a 4-back at different points during the match. So Xavi's going to have to be able to adapt himself and have a few different game plans for that. And back to the original point, I don't know if Barcelona are going to have the depth to respond to that.
He needs to adapt to. He needs to have two formations: the normal one that we're playing right now with 4 midfielders, and he needs to have a 4-3-3 ready. Just because I go back to the Leeds game, not the first one. Even the first one and the second one, both of them were very open. But the first one, we saw how Leeds instantly bang open, high pressure. Man United couldn't get out of that. So I feel that that's honestly, if Barcelona go into this game, I would prioritize starting with a 4-3-3 rather than a 4-4-2, because I feel. But with Gavi in the lineup, don't get me wrong. Just Gavi further forward to be that extra man, just pressuring. So then we can see Pedri or Kessie running forward and bombing into the box. Not be a little bit more solid, because when you leave that, when you're not as aggressive against United, I feel that's where United feel more comfortable. You really have to be aggressive against them. And that's where I feel that Barcelona should try and nick the very first goal. And I'm worried about that. Why? Because this United, this is where you need to get your opportunity. Luke Shaw is potentially going to play at center back.
He is.
Maybe. Sancho is going to be playing right mid. He's not going to, or either Sancho is going to be playing right mid, or Garnacho is going to be playing left mid, and then Rashford is going to be playing right mid. So you need to take advantage of this. United are not going to be at their strongest. So
no Casemiro, no Eriksen.
Yeah, no Lisandro Martinez.
Casemiro will be back.
Oh, that's right. He's just suspended
in the league.
Yeah. No, but isn't he suspended also for Europa League? Or is that
Lisandro
Martinez?
Lisandro.
So
yeah,
like
so
I said,
he'll be there.
You need to be able to take advantage of this one. This is the one game where Barca need to shine.
Pablo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel a bit odd coming into this one. I think the nature of the tie, Barca missing a few people, the second leg at Old Trafford doesn't suit Barcelona at all, and that's why this is kind of like in Spain they say like what do they say, Buga, like a test de fuego or something.
Una prueba de fuego.
Yeah, like that sort of thing. You always see that on the front cover of Sports before a big game, and I think this is that sort of thing for Barca. We've done well in La Liga, but those are against teams that they're good teams, very good teams for sure, but we like playing them. They have slower players and stuff. This is a proper test for Barca. No Lisandro is huge, by the way, at the back for Man U. I've watched so much Man U this season, and I can't tell you how important Lisandro Martinez is to Manchester United. He's just gargantuan for them. I think he and Thiago Silva, for me, by the way, are the two best centre-backs in the English Premier League this season. So I think he is a huge miss for Barca, and Lewandowski's got to go for that. That's Lewandowski's chance. With a second leg, he'll be back. Casemiro in there has also been immense, so having him back is an issue for Barcelona. And then whether they put Rashford on the left or centrally, I think either way he's going to cause Barca problems. So it's going to be a difficult one for Barca. I find it interesting, Buga, that you'd say go the 4-3-3, but just keep Gavi on the left wing instead of like 4-4-2 with the same personnel, but drop them all into like a line of four, if you know what I mean. So I don't know how Xavi will line up. I expect it to be the same lineup as Villarreal. And to be honest, with how kind of numb is not the right word, that's harsh, but we looked a little bit ineffective in attack, or a bit, off it in attack. I'm expecting this tie to be within one goal, maybe like 3-2 on aggregate, like 2-1 at Camp Nou and 1-1 at Old Trafford, where with an awful lot of suffering, with a lot of last-ditch Araujo tackles and Christensen blocks. So I think it could be that sort of tie. I really do.
You know who's going to be key for United? The key for United is going to be Wout Weghorst, because look. Because who's gonna take advantage? Who's gonna mark that guy? If you watch the Leeds game, who watched the Leeds game right now?
Me, but I'm sorry, Weghorst. I like the bloke, but in my opinion,
look. Not for scoring. Okay, Look, Wout Weghorst didn't play striker in that game. He played like center forward / center midfielder. Like, who's gonna mark that guy? Is it either gonna be Lewandowski taking too much job, like dropping down and taking such a big job to try and mark that guy when United are on the attack, or is it gonna be Araujo like pushing forward? Because Gavi, De Jong, and Kessie, that guy is gonna eat them up, like in terms of height. Because United didn't play the ball out once. I don't know. That's where my worries are lying. Because I don't know who's gonna be marking that guy.
Kessie is outrageously strong, by the way. He just hasn't shown it. I think last night against Villarreal was the first time I've seen a confident Kessie. He was bodying people off the ball, especially in La Liga. Like, remember when we saw Kessie in pre-season? He was absolutely flooring people, and I thought, like, this guy's an absolute animal. I remember Pedri saying in pre-season, we stay away from Kessie in training. And then we saw him play for Barca, and he plays very tame. I just think it was a confidence thing, so hopefully he starts using his body. On Weghorst, I actually like Weghorst. You know how I like that sort of striker, like Giroud and stuff, but I actually think Weghorst has been really poor for Man U so far. I think he looks like an absolute donkey up front. He's not been good enough at winning headers aerially. He's not even been strong in the air. He's not been that good at linking up. And every time Man U sub him off, they instantly become a better team. We saw that for quite a few games in a row, actually. Now, Weghorst goes off, Man U score 2
Watch
goals.
Weghorst now score like a hat trick.
Yeah, what have I done?
I just don't think
for example,
it's
the midweek game, the midweek game, they were 2-0 down to Leeds. Weghorst went off. They got Rashford down the middle. And then they had, Garnacho and Sancho, or Pellistri and Sancho on the wings. Either way, and I think they actually might do that at Camp Nou, because I think they feel if we're going to be playing counter-attack football, why on earth do we want Weghorst up front? So I can see Man U having Sancho, Garnacho, Bruno Fernandes, and Marcus Rashford up front just to hit Barca with pace on the break. Hope for Barcelona is with that back, as you were saying, Bulgar, that, that's not exactly a back four you want to be playing counter-attack football against, because it's incredibly quick. But I just think Weghorst against that pacey back line, if Man U are playing counter-attacks, Ten Hag might think, let's not do that.
I think, honestly, we should start like in order. Don't you think that? Like, maybe go PSG Bayern, because that's the biggest one. Or you want me host? Sorry, host John. Do you want me to go with Benfica collaboration?
Bulgar.
What?
Bulgar, I have a question for you. Bulgar, Bayern PSG is on Valentine's Day. You sure you're going to be free, my friend?
Trust me. I wish I had as many women as academy rejects from PSG. I wish I did. Remember that last time I was really confident PSG? I don't know. I don't know what's happened to me this week, but I feel that PSG. I know. Look. Mbappe, Messi, and Neymar are all in the squad. Which is actually positive for them, because I do feel the best PSG is counter-attacking PSG. I just feel that similar to Old Trafford and the game we just talked about, it's like the schedules fit very nicely in favor of Bayern Munich. Like, if Bayern could just go to the Parc des Princes, get a result, and then bring it back at Allianz Arena, I don't know. I feel they're going to be a rough pill to swallow, and we are going to be seeing many debuts by Bayern Munich potentially. We're going to be seeing Jan Sommer and João Cancelo making their debuts as well in the Champions League. No, in the Champions League with Bayern Munich. So, I don't know. It's going to be a tight game. I'm really looking forward to this one. I feel that the one thing that PSG is lacking, in my opinion, right now is that solidity in the midfield. I don't know what's their best midfield, and that's going to cost them a bit. But even with it, PSG don't tend to transition that much through their midfield. They just like to go from their defense, one of the fullbacks, be it Nuno Mendes or Hakimi, and get it to the wingers. So let's wait and see, because I feel that if Bayern Munich dominates the midfield, maybe that's where PSG are going to be slacking a bit. I think it's a very nice, what I would call like a matchup of different styles.
I don't think PSG come into this game in a good moment at all, do they? Every time I check PSG's results, they've lost in Liga. They lose every week. And then I checked the table the other day and I thought, title race must be on then. And then I thought, okay, no, they're still 7 points clear or whatever they are. No ramifications in that league, no matter what you do. So, they're fine domestically, but I'm sorry. Who else follows AFC Ajax on Twitter and sees PSG concede at every minute of every Saturday? Because I certainly do. But those blokes just don't care. They're still top of the league. They lost again, by the way, on Saturday or Sunday, 3-1 to Monaco. Awful. So they're not in a good moment, PSG. Mbappe's come back miraculously, apparently. I'm sure he'll be starting and I'm sure he'll be fit. Messi and Neymar should start as well, so that'll be good fun to watch. And I think PSG are actually going to perform better against Bayern than they have been doing in Liga, and I think they're going to step it up. But they're not in a good moment under Galtier. And if I had to go a favourite for the legs, I'm actually going to go Bayern Munich. And I think that also could have quite a big impact on Lionel Messi's contract renewal.
Mm-hmm. I feel it's going to be a draw, the first leg. The first leg.
Yeah,
the first leg is going to be a draw. Yeah, 1-1. Dude, Tottenham are such a... Every time I look at Tottenham, I look at, finally, they're turning the corner. And they go back to being humiliating, to being numb, to being pathetic. Like, like I even looked at the predicted lineups for this game. Højbjerg has a red card. Betancourt is out for the rest of the season. Like, they're going to be having to play Oliver Skip in the Champions League. Like, no, you don't do that. I don't know. I really wanna believe that Tottenham can get a result. I feel that still for me, they have of course the better squad. Son, Kane, Kulusevski, they have been playing better together ever since Kulusevski got back from injury. I feel that's going to be enough to get past AC Milan, because Milan just look so bad, like horrible. At least they're so bad, like so bad. At least Pioli changed a little bit. They're outside the Champions League spots. Yesterday that I said I saw that, I was like, wow, really? And I feel at least Pioli, this is what I was gonna say. Pioli did change something in that Torino game to get the win. Like, he reverted to a back three, which gave them, I feel, a little bit of solidity, even though they didn't have much of control of the ball. They didn't know what to do with. Like, it's like they were getting accustomed to their positions, but at least they managed to solventar. They managed to kind of get through it and get that goal at the end for Giroud in the second half. But I don't know whether that's actually going to be served them good against Tottenham. So I feel like PSG and Bayern and Tottenham Milan, I feel they're going to be very slow games. And I feel that Tottenham Milan, maybe it's going to be like a 1-0 Tottenham or something like that. I don't really see Milan getting through this.
Yeah, I think most other teams and Tottenham would be going out in this round of 16, but I think because it's Milan, they just look too poor for Tottenham. I think I always go back to Tottenham. They've got so much attacking quality. I mean, Son has dropped off this season, but Milan looks so bad right now that I think Tottenham are going to go through if I had to go with one team. Yeah.
Yeah, like Milan has bigger fish to fry. Like, they need to get in the Champions League spot. They need to, because that squad needs improvement, and you need money. And Jesus, like, every time I look at their midfield, they're like one player short. Benacer, Tonali, good. I like it. But then Krunic, what? Brahim Diaz?
Yeah.
I know Brahim Diaz is good sometimes, some days, but like, no. It's like, what are you doing? Ibrahimovic is not even registered in their Champions League squad. Why? I don't know. They just thought they didn't need him, maybe.
I forgot he was still a footballer. Yeah, I thought he retired or something.
Just look at the form. Look at the form. Scott Parker. What the hell is Scott Parker managing the Champions League for? Like, I would be a better manager. I at least won a Champions League on FIFA. Like, I have a little bit of pedigree. I don't know what he's doing.
Quickly, Buga. Did the coach that got Club Brugge through the group stage? What happened, and why is Parker in now?
He got sacked because he wasn't doing too good in the Belgian league.
Okay.
And now Scott Parker is doing even
a lot
worse.
better than they are now, though. No?
Yeah, he's doing even worse. Scott Parker is doing even worse. And that's what I mean. He's trying out new things. He's trying out new formations. Players like Jude Glad that were very good at the start of the season, they're fading away. Yeah. Noah Lang, more of the same. There's always this center back that I forget. Let me try to look up his name.
I thought that.
Nah, I don't think they're gonna struggle, but they're gonna go. Look, they're not the four. Not really, because Chiquinho has been playing good after he left. Like, the 2 games that he came in, he did good. The thing is that they are not the force that I put Benfica and Napoli in the very same bag. Like months ago, they're not that anymore. Benfica is just, they're gonna go out the next round. Like, I don't see them being the same force as I reckon they were gonna be. not because of just Enzo Fernandez, but I feel they've also slowed down a little bit, and just the emotions of losing such a big player certainly going to carry some weight. Look, Pablo, they're playing Denis Odoi at center back.
Haha, the ex-Fulham man.
Yeah, the Fulham legend. He's playing as freaking center back, and that's what I mean. Like, what are you doing? Your Canadian brother, John, your neighbor, Buchanan, he's also like not doing anything anymore for them. And that's what I mean. I feel Club Brugge are gonna sadly go out. A team that before I was looking towards to seeing play. I thought this game between Benfica and Club Brugge has lost all the fuss, all the fuss. It's like drinking a soda without any gas on it. It's just very, very, very awful.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting tie. I think it's quite a low-level tie, actually. There's quite a few of them. I don't like to back Chelsea to win any football match under Graham Potter, actually. And, I mean, this will be no different. I think Chelsea are going to struggle to win, like I say, most games. So I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a draw here. But it's a good chance for Chelsea, actually, to get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I don't rate Borussia Dortmund, really. I think Dortmund come into this game on quite good form, though. They've looked a bit better of late. They had a young English 16-year-old I heard or something score from the other day. I could be wrong on that, but of course they've got Jude Bellingham. They've
you don't
got
know the name.
They've got good.
You don't know Jamie Bino
That's it, Jamie.
whatever his name is for now.
That's the one. Yeah. No, I heard it for the first.
I knew who he was. I just didn't know how to pronounce his name. Stop bullying me.
So, I think Dortmund come into it in technically a better moment than Chelsea, but I think Chelsea, first leg away from home, second leg back at the Bridge, I think Chelsea should be taken down. And you know what? I will back us to go through. It could be an exciting game. For example, against West Ham, Chelsea had glimpses where you thought, João Felix looks class, to be fair. I'm not the biggest fan of João Felix, but he's looked brilliant for Chelsea so far. If we actually give the ball to Mudryk, I think he can cause issues. Madueke looks interesting. You've got Havertz kind of at the tip of the pyramid, if you like. You've got Enzo Fernandez in midfield now. If Kovacic gets fit again. Badiashile, I think, has been Chelsea's best signing so far. So Reece James is back in the team. Of course, got Thiago Silva. So the players are kind of there now for Chelsea, in my opinion. So we should now start seeing at least some fun football, at least for periods of the game. I'll go out to the point. I don't back Chelsea to win many, if any, matches under Graham Potter, but I think this is a really good chance for Chelsea against subpar opponents in the round of 16.
I feel Chelsea has the talent. They have the individual quality. But I think Dortmund are more of a team at this moment.
Yeah.
I feel certain incorporations or certain reappearances. I feel the new right back that they have, Ryerson, the guy from Norway, he's been really good. He came from Union Berlin, if I'm not wrong. And he's such an improvement on Munier because Munier was trash. Then you take a look at this English guy that we've mentioned. He's coming in. He's a new kind of breath of fresh air. I think Sebastian Haller is such a massive addition to Dortmund. Like before, just seeing Mukoko, Adeyemi alone, I don't think it's enough to be able to break the duck of some team like Chelsea. But Haller is just a different monster, I feel. Coming back, of course, from what he suffered, he looks like a reinvigorated player. And for Chelsea, I feel like I was saying the individual quality. We saw the game against West Ham. Enzo Fernandez, just that ball he gave to who was the scored, Pablo? To João Felix. Yeah, that ball is just like, we've seen it with people like Frankie de Jong. Just one ball can change the game. And I feel that's particularly kind of what Enzo Fernandez can bring to your team. And I just want to say, Chelsea will get through if they don't play Marco Cucurella. Cucurella is... Have you seen all the memes of like Cucurella saying sorry to Mudryk all the time? He said sorry to... Mudryk made runs, and Cucurella was just, no, I cannot do that pass. That's too hard of a pass. I'm a professional footballer. I come from La Masia. I'm just so bad. Sorry, I cannot make that through ball. And he did, I'm sorry. Like 8 times. I'm not joking. And poor Mudryk was like running his ass off, making runs, perfect diagonals. And Cucurella was like, I'm not that good. I cannot make that pass. He's so bad. Like what I wanted him in my team, but he's so bad. He's so basic.
Yeah, he's been getting an awful lot of stick on the Chelsea fan base. I think for the money he came for as well. He just gets the ball and passes back to Badiashile is all he does. And we've seen Mudryk get frustrated. Mudryk strikes me as an interesting bloke, by the way. The social media stuff before, the way he was kind of on his knees to sign for Arsenal, like posting them on his story, I found that a bit odd. He liked to post about Cucurella never passing to him. There was a video that got leaked around of him saying, like, yeah, I'm settling in fine at Chelsea, but, like, get me a new left-back instead of Cucurella. So, I don't know. There's something's going wrong on the left-hand side for Chelsea, let's put it that way.